Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Every Tuesday Tips and Advice Graphic Design Portfolio series. So in this week's video, this part of the series, we're going to be talking about graphic design portfolio best practices. So since this is part 2, for this part, I want you to head on over to fulltimegraphicdesign.com and pick up the free portfolio project checklist because we'll be talking about it in this video. And also going over to fulltimegraphicdesign.com, you'll be able to sign up for a list so I can let you know when my ebook on tips and advice for getting a full-time graphic design job becomes available next week. It's almost here. So in this video, we're going to go over formatting your portfolio projects, how many portfolio projects are just enough, and how to order your portfolio projects. So starting with the first one, formatting your portfolio projects. So for this one, we are going to be referring to the portfolio project checklist. So when you're laying out a project in your portfolio, you want to begin with the proper information about the project. So you'll start by listing the project title and then refer to that portfolio project checklist for all the specific information that will go right underneath it. This is going to be stuff about describing what the goals of the project were, what kind of problems you were tasked with solving for the project, any collaborators that were part of it. The entire list is on that portfolio project checklist. Okay. So right after you have the project title and the information, there's kind of two ways that you can go. So you can either show the final outcome of your project, or you can do a lead up to the final outcome. So I prefer the second way, but either way is perfectly fine. So I'm going to walk you through my process and the way that I prefer. So the info that you include at the beginning provides the interviewer with an understanding and proper background about what you are tasked with creating before anything is being seen. So for me, the first images of a project I always have as my process. So initial sketches or computer work, this just gives the interviewer an idea of how you solve problems. So 2 to 4 process images is perfectly fine. It's just there to allow the interviewer to understand how you work through a problem and how your process leads to the work you are capable of producing. So showing process images also creates a lead up to the final outcome. So if you're reading a good book, you're telling a story, and this story happens to be how you arrived at the solution and all the components that were part of solving that difficult problem that you listed at the beginning of the project. So the next images I have is finalized components of the solution. So here, before we show them all the really good stuff, we're leading up by showing the decisions that we made along the way. So defining a color palette, if this is a logo for a company, any tagline that's associated with that logo, typography that's used within the logo, and any extra design elements that go along with the brand. So after you have this kind of lead up, now it's time to show flat artwork before, the really beauty shots are shown, like mock-ups in photography. So for me, I like leaving the best parts of the project for the end. However, it is perfectly fine to put them all at the beginning and then go into your process. I just like the idea of telling a story that leads to the final outcome. So here you can see if this were a logo, we're going to show the one color and the full color totally flat, and then we're going to end with showing it on mockups. So if your artwork's for a fictitious client, which that's fine, my portfolio, after I finished my 4-year degree, the entire portfolio was made up of fictitious clients and I still got a job. So don't have any insecurities about that. So showing mockups are fine. And if it's for a real project, then just make sure you have some really nice photography that you can show of the logo or the artwork being shown in the actual environment that it was intended for. So looking through the project, it should be crystal clear that you solved every component of the problem that you listed in the information section at the very beginning of the project where the project title was listed. So now we're going to talk about the sweet spot for the number of projects to have in a portfolio. So are you ready for this? It's actually far less than you probably think. So 6 to 8 strong and thorough, those are keywords there, projects. So 6 to 8 projects where 2 to 3 of them have a focus on your strongest design area. So last week we talked about crafting your portfolio to show your best skills in their best light. So we kind of use the example of packaging. So if you are a well-rounded designer and you've got great work across all the different design areas like packaging and branding and publication design, environmental design, web design, all those different areas that make up graphic design, but packaging just happens to be the area that you're strongest in, so you would be pursuing a job with a focus on packaging. So out of the 6 to 8 projects, you would want 2 to 3 of those to be in your strongest design area, no matter what it is. So for this example, we're going to say that our strongest area is packaging. So the remaining 3 to 5 projects show that you're still a well-rounded designer. So we're going to show off that you're great at packaging, but then the rest of your portfolio is showing that you're also capable of branding, environmental design, web design, publication design, all the other ones. So how to order them now that we have the right amount and we have the number of projects that we need to show off our best skill sets. So ordering our projects. So the very best project in your entire portfolio should be a packaging one if that's your strongest skill set. And that best project, can you guess where it's going to go in your portfolio? It's actually going to go last. And the reason that it goes last is that this will be the project the interviewer will remember you best by, and it will stay clearer in their mind, and they'll always associate that strong finish with you if it's the last one that they see. And of course, it should be a packaging one if that's your strongest skill set. So the second best project in your portfolio should go first. And the reason why your second best one goes first is that this will start the interview really strong, and it will be memorable to the interviewer because it's the first project of yours that they will see. So this should also be one of your best skill set projects. So it would be packaging for our example. And if you're going for a packaging job, which you probably should be if that's your strongest skill set, then it makes sense to start a portfolio and to end a portfolio with a packaging project. So what about your third best project? That one should go right in the middle of your portfolio. And the reason for that is that this will keep your portfolio feeling very strong overall. So if you had 3 packaging projects, that third project should go right in the middle. If you only have 2 packaging projects, then this should be your very best project in any of the other design areas that you're covering in your portfolio. So if you have 2 strong packaging projects and your third best project is a branding project, put the branding one in the middle then. Okay, so the rest of your projects can be peppered in between your 3 best. It doesn't really matter where the rest of them go because they're just going to enhance your portfolio, strengthen it, and show that you're a well-rounded designer. So if you have 7 projects in your portfolio and your strongest design area is packaging, this just kind of shows you your first project should be the second best project in your portfolio, also associated with your best skill set. The very middle one, so number 4 here, would be either your third best packaging project or your first best project outside of packaging. And then the very last project should be your best packaging project, which should also be the best portfolio project out of all of them. So next week, now that we've gone over portfolio best practices, next week will be the final part in this series, and we're going to talk about getting your work noticed. And just a reminder, the ebook will become available next week. I'm so excited to share it with you, and all the details and getting on the list so you're notified as soon as it becomes available is at fulltimegraphicdesign.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you don't miss part 3 of next week, and I will see you then.